You're watching Dialed In, Sporting Times video podcasts on stfanclub.com.
Coach Sherrill.
Hey, how you doing, Doug?
Good. Welcome to Dialed In. I would do this in person, but we got to keep the social distancing going.
Yeah, and that's something probably neither one of us are very good at. So, it's better that you called me.
Hey, listen, congratulations for being named the head basketball coach. I am not going to ask you the question of why, because I know why.
Right.
Before we get into that, I do want to preface this by saying that you were a big advocate for Derek Clubb. He was your assistant coach. You advocated for him. You supported him. And obviously you understand the family dynamics. But you are now the head coach again. And the question I do have for you is how much did you miss it?
Well, if you ask Coach Clubb and his staff and middle school staff and probably some fellow coaches, buddies of mine around the state, I probably never mentally quit coaching. I was get on my laptop and I'd log into the Huddle account and watch film from time to time, and I'd come to games. And this year I'd really try to be real intentional about not sitting down on the floor because I'd tease with officials that I'd never missed a call. But then I would start trying to officiate games from the baseline, or I would start barking, things to the bench about things I would do. And then I realized, I'm not there. So I got to get away from up in the stands and get away from the floor. And it's just really tough. It's someone that's done this for as long as I had done this. It's hard to make that break. And, as you mentioned, Coach Clubb earlier, Derek's like a little brother to me. I love him to death, and we were very close and remained very close. And so I was his biggest advocate and supporter in many ways, and that staff too. I mean, many of those guys played for me or coached with me. So, I stayed really close and connected to the program and the kids. And so when this thing presented itself back to me, it was something I just had to do.
Yeah. And, and you were there for 12 seasons, the first time. And Coach, and I know you don't have a running total and you don't keep a scratch pad of your accomplishments, but they're quite amazing. You had 307 wins in just 12 seasons versus 92 losses. You averaged 25 wins per year, and great success, 8 district championships, 6 region championships, a state championship. You've had great players. Just kind of talk about the dynamic of being the head coach at Bowling Green High School, because you and I have had many conversations about the gauntlet in the 4th region, in the 14th district. It's not your regular run-of-the-mill regions in the state of Kentucky.
Well, when I came to Bowling Green to interview 15 years ago, it seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I told Mr. Fields, Gary Fields at the time, that he asked me why did I want this job, and I said, this is a destination job. This is a job that, you got many jobs that you step through that you think, well, there may be, I'll look at this job or that job moving forward, but there's only about 5 or 6 places that coaches would go, and that's where that's it. They're not looking anymore. And this is one of those places. It always has been. But on top of this being a destination place, I've become a purple. I've become what this place represents and means in so many ways. I've had great assistant coaches. I've got to work on a great team at Bowling Green High School with the staff and the administration. And then I was blessed enough to move 3 years ago over to our central office. And now I'm blessed to be out in our elementary schools and our middle schools and our alternative education centers and work with all the people in this district. And it's just a special place. Yeah. It's just a place full of good people that show up every day and punch the clock for kids. And, and through this pandemic, watching our food service people and watching our teachers get on buses to hand out food. And I know every district is doing this, so I'm certainly not saying that we're not doing what every other district is doing, but to be able to see it firsthand you get to really developing an understanding of how special the people are that work in our district, the students that go here. And so, being part of this, I just think it's an honor. I think it's a privilege. It's not something I take lightly.
Yeah, and you're right. I see the buses go by and handing out the meals to the kids, and talking about the pandemic, Coach. You and I have had conversations that probably one of the most elite and coveted championships in the state of Kentucky is basketball. I'm not taking away anything from any other sport because they're so important. They're so hard to come by. Mm-hmm. But you got to win 37 games or 38 games to win a state championship. And with that being said, you had a girls team this year that played so well.
Yes.
Dominated in the 4th region. They get the state, and you have a Warren Central club that fought to get out of the 4th region. And those kids don't get to experience Rupp Arena. And I know you know better than anybody what that had to be like. And just from your perspective, can you address that a little bit?
Well, Doug, I was, of course, as you know, the last couple of years I've served as the athletic director throughout for the district. And so this past year when our girls won, I went up a day early and was just going to be up there to kind of help Coach Head with whatever he needed, as they go through that journey, if it's helping with meals or just practice space, whatever. And he didn't need a lot of help because he's a pretty competent guy, but I wanted to be there as a resource for him if he needed anything. And so I go up there and I'm over watching the very last game of the Sweet 16. I'm in the gym in Rupp Arena waiting for our girls to come over to watch the Marshall Henderson game. It was to follow. And I got a phone call from Butch Cope and telling me that the tournament was going to end at the conclusion of that basketball game. And I remembered, we had just gotten an announcement from Julian Tackett that they were going to do a social distancing thing and they were going to play on with the tournament. But I think that KHSAA did 1,000% the right thing. They had to cancel the tournament. Everyone around them was canceling, and then looking back at what happened in Indiana at their state tournament with people getting the COVID and dying. A couple people died that were at that tournament. This wasn't anything to play with, and so 1,000% the right decision. But when I had to call back and tell Coach Ed, don't bring your girls over to the gym, take them to a nice lunch. And don't tell him yet, but the tournament's been canceled. And so then having to go back to the hotel and see him after he talked to his team and watch those girls walk around the hallway, kind of like lost looks on their faces because everything they had prepared for had been taken away from them, and and completely out of their control. If you go up and you lose a basketball game, you go back to your hotel and you say, what? Last game was in Rupp Arena. Heck of a season, nothing to hold our heads down about. But when you never get the chance to have your season end the way it's supposed to end, either through losing or winning the whole thing, there's a void there. And, those teams that didn't participate this year, there's a void. But it's no one's fault but this nasty virus. I mean, so then the other part about it is you like to go blame somebody, but who are you going to blame? There's as I read the tweets and the information coming from our athletic association, I look what's happening in pro sports and college sports across our country. It's one of those things where that's what makes this whole transition for me right now very weird because you don't get to go meet with the guys. You don't get to get them in the gym and have a conversation or get to the weight room and do things that make you feel like you're back in coaching. Right now, the best you can do is text a few guys, try to do some Zoom meetings, introduce yourself to them, but you're so limited on what you can do, and we're limited for all the right reasons. But I know that athletics is a big part of locally what we do and what we across this entire community, and nationally it's a big void. Just look at the Michael Jordan and Bulls story that was on last weekend. I mean, record people watch that because there's a hunger to get back into a sports mindset and have access to sports again. So it's a hunger and desire, but our girls, just briefly, what a spectacular team. And what you're most proud of is every time they took the floor, they played the right way. You were never going to beat them unless you just had to beat them. They were going to not give it away. And So, but that's a whole lot to say with the character of those girls and the character and the mustard that Coach Ed brings day in, day out, preparing his team.
Yeah, no question. And, Coach, sports, local sports and high school sports, it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
And I think people are missing that. I mean, I certainly am. And we're doing things to create content and keep in touch. But, as an administrator, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but how do you see sports, especially team sports? I mean, golf,
right.
They're out on the fairways and
Yeah.
it's different. Cross country, maybe a little different. But do you have any idea of how this thing is going to unfold?
It's so scary. It's so, you think about, go back to mention just briefly Coach Head's team and girls basketball. Well, then you think about our baseballs and our softballs and people that they never got to take the field. At least on our basketball side, those teams got a season. Now, as we go into summer, it's the big unknown. Are we going to have football? Are we going to have, fall sports? And, I know that everyone that has a role in this is trying to push to have those things in place. But, what's this virus going to do? That's the unknown right now. In the latest conversations that I've been a part of with the governor and the commissioner and people, they're saying that everything's on track to start school in August. That's their plan. That's their hopes. But then there's this other research and all this that, what if we have a second wave? Now we have states opening up. How is that going to affect us?
Right.
Is the states opening up going to be an example of, okay, we can open up, or are they going to cause an even greater loss of life and a wider spread of the virus? And no one, there's a lot of speculation from a lot of people a lot smarter than me, but no one really knows the answer to those questions.
Right.
And so that's the scary thing. But I do know that, we're not equipped to be shut down and isolated like we are. But we have to be until it's safe for people to go back out. People aren't risking their lives anymore. This isn't risking getting a flu virus or a cold. This is risking getting a virus that could kill you, or could kill a family member. And so there's, they have to take all precautions, but it sure is a very frustrating existence right now from where our priorities are.
Well, I got to tell you, Coach, I'm excited that you're back in the game officially, and that you'll be on the sidelines coaching next season. And I'm sure the officials can't wait for your return.
You know what, Doug? Doug?
I say that jokingly.
Hey, listen. I got to say one comment, and I'm glad me and you were talking, but having this interview. But I remember I listen and watch all the stuff you guys put out and enjoy the content. But I remember when Coach McCoy got his job out there, and I think a question or something kind of was made that Coach Cunningham, you got the X's and O's from Cunningham and got the how to work officials from Coach Sherrill. so I appreciated that. I apprecited but actually, I'm looking forward to getting back on the sideline. I'm looking forward to being back around coaches and back where I feel at home in a gym. And, I promise to be as easy on the officials as they allow me to be. If they would just understand that I'm very rarely wrong over there.
That's right.
We'd all get along much better, I'm sure.
Hey, listen, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations again, and we will talk again soon.
Doug, thanks so much, buddy, for having me on. Appreciate it.
You're watching Dialed In, Sporting Times video podcasts on stfanclub.com. Watch or listen to Dialed In on stfanclub.com. We want to hear from you. Connect with us on stfanclub.com/dialedin.